was a crowded parking lot this morning. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church, a community of folks bound together not by creed, but by covenant, living to the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Stephanie Ward, she, her, and I'm on the board of directors.
Before you go on,
Yeah.
let's just pull this down so everyone can hear.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Good job.
Do I need to keep going? What else am I supposed to say? That's all I got. Yeah. That'll work. Thank you. Get it together. Okay. All right. So if you have a request for today's meditation, you can put it in the large bowl over there. Or you can just gesture and one of the greeters will come grab that. You can put it in the chat box if you're online before the opening hymn, and we'll catch that. A special welcome to anyone joining us. Sorry for the discombobulation, but we're glad you're here. Please fill out a guest card, and those can be found out front, I believe. You can also find the link in the Zoom chat box, or grab a yellow card from the welcome desk right out front. Instead of social hour today, we have our annual congregation meeting, and it'll be after the service this morning. And if you're joining us virtually online, you'll find the link on the website, as well as, I think, in the chat box. If you're in person, we just ask that after the service, everyone exits the sanctuary to allow the meeting to prep to begin, just for about 15 minutes. And then you'll be free to, use the restroom, I think grab coffee or stuff in the social hall, chat, and then when you're ready to re-enter, we'll do a second check-in just so that we can make a head count for quorum. And we'll do that on the iPads again. A few remaining events to bid on for Dining for Dollars, and I saw Mark King outside, so you can visit the table out there in the atrium to bid on those final events. It's a great way to support the church financially and have fun and have good food and good company. This coming Wednesday night, June 15th, is the first of the Wednesday evening potlucks. That will be from 5:30 to 6:30. You can visit the table in the atrium to sign up to be part of the setup crew or the cleanup crew, and you can also sign up with a dish that you're going to bring as well. So that's it. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world. Thank you.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him, his.
I'm Reverend Sarah. My pronouns are she, her.
The theme for this month is reverence, the practice of celebrating blessings. I find blessings in many forms in my life, that I get to look out the window and see extraordinary purple irises, or that I get to live in a place where the clouds in the sky make for extraordinary photographs, where nature is right here with us every day. I find blessings in getting to serve this congregation and work with a wonderful staff team who bring humor to all that we do. Most of all, I experience the blessing of raising two incredible kids. Jamie just turned 6 and graduated from kindergarten, and Emily is 2.5 and starting to talk up a storm. The stress of parenting right now is balanced by the moments when they grin up at me and say, "I love you." Their laughter is contagious and fills my heart with joy. And I have so much reverence for their learning and growth, for every moment I get to spend comforting them, teaching them, learning from them, and loving them. We light the chalice this morning for contagious laughter, truly a blessing to celebrate.
Please join me for the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I'm Reverend Jack, and I use he, him pronouns. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn. Come sing a song with me, number 346 in the gray hardback hymnal.
Come sing a song with me. I'm Assistant DRE Nico Van Ostrian, and my pronouns are they, them. And this morning, I want to share about covenants, which is something that we talk about a lot here at church. We're not the only ones. I bet you can think of other people, perhaps at other churches or even across the country or around the world, who talk about covenants too. Well, covenants are special promises we make to each other about how we will be together so we can all learn and grow. They bind us together as Unitarian Universalists, so yeah, we talk about them a lot. There are many different kinds of covenants. We make them during religious education classes. Some families make them at home. You may have encountered them at school or at work. And as UUs, we have a great big covenant that we follow, made up of the 7 principles. Sometimes covenants are written down on big pieces of paper or typed up on a computer. And some of you may have a covenant that looks a lot like this, or this one that was made by our RE kids in the classrooms. This is a paper chain covenant, which I made this way because it reminds me that covenants help keep our community together. So this paper chain covenant says, everyone is important, everyone should be treated fairly and kindly, we should accept one another and keep learning together, everyone must be free to search for what is true and right in life, everyone should have a vote about the things that concern them, we must work together for a peaceful, fair, and free world, we must care for our planet Earth, the home we share with all living things. Now, one of the nice things about covenants is that they are alive, not in the same way that you and I are alive, but in the sense that they are always changing and growing. That's why we check in about our covenant at the beginning of every RE class, and that's why there's always room on the end of a paper chain to add more links. In fact, I'm going to add one right now. This is the proposed 8th principle, which isn't officially part of our UU covenant right now, but many UUs have chosen to follow it anyway. This link says, we work together for beloved community and against oppression and racism. This covenant of UU principles guides us on Sunday and on every day and brings our community closer together. So I'm going to take this paper chain home with me, add it to my altar, to help me remember that our covenants connect us no matter where we are.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Gathered as we are together, almost maybe 80 or 90 people here in the sanctuary and 83 households on Zoom. Let us take time out of time to lift up and hold each other's joys and concerns. The days are getting longer. The world is buzzing with excitement. Graduations, celebrations, chapters ending and new ones beginning. The cycles of life and the seasons and the news cycles all continue to revolve with their joys and heartbreaks, stories of triumph and tragedy. We pray for those affected by gun violence, those struggling with mental health and addiction, those wrestling against their changing bodies, physical health challenges, and disease. We celebrate with those who are celebrating. We rejoice with those who are reuniting with family and friends, both far away and close by. And we know that many of us are holding a multiplicity of joys and sorrows, and we honor that too. We also honor the folks who are in transitions of all kinds. May they find and hold their center. This morning, our congregation is holding the following people in love and light. The oldest brother of Helen Gallagher, Paul, who is brave enough to go into treatment again for alcohol addiction. Please keep Michelle Shaw's uncle, Jim Jensen's family, in your thoughts. He lost his 3-year battle with cancer on Friday with his family by his side. And now, out of this silence and into it, we speak the names of those we are holding in extra care this morning. Knowing that holding all of this together is easier than holding it alone, we breathe out one last breath of solidarity and community. May it be so.
Twice a month, the offering goes to local nonprofits helping to build a better world. And then on the other 2 Sundays, our offering stays here at WBUUC and helps meet our 2-pronged mission of growing our souls and serving the world in love. We'll be passing around the plate here, but there are also 3 additional ways to give. You can go on our website. You can send a check directly in the mail to the church, or you can use the text to give feature on the screen, I think. However you choose to contribute, thank you so much for your generosity and your faith in the life that we're leading together.
Thank you, Bianca and Mary. One thing that I love about interim ministry is that it unleashes my imagination from any worry about longevity in my position. So I'm pre-fired, and the likely date of my departure is known from the beginning. So one implication of this is that when I share suggestions and observations, you ignore, and I'm right, which is not all the time. I don't have to live with the long-term consequences. So today I want to share 7 observations from this kind of the likely midpoint during my time here. And I do this in the spirit of what I just said. You're free to heed this, to ignore it. Either way, I'll be gone likely in a year. So the first observation is that you have a hardworking, excellent, and fun staff. So in my 27 years in congregations, this is the most creative and the most enjoyable staff I've ever been part of. And that is a terrific asset for this congregation. At the same time, I think the congregation probably needs to explore the question of whether this current staffing level is financially sustainable. And a related question, which is ethical, should you have a larger staff that's not fairly paid or a smaller staff that is? And I believe you would have faced these questions even if Reverend Victoria Safford had stayed. Indeed, for many years, I think the actions of this congregation around compensation leaned toward that idea of a larger staff not fairly paid. A related question to the staffing level is the size and financial capacity of the congregation. Like all but the tiniest congregations, knowing how many members a congregation has gotten infinitely harder in the pandemic. So we're going to hit this question in the fall so that we can give prospective candidates for the lead minister position a real number, at least close number, of how many people are here. My best guess, and a lot of you have been asking about this, is that this congregation is maybe 10% smaller than it was pre-pandemic before the departure of some key staff. If that's the ballpark, that is actually a very common contraction rate during ministerial transition. And it would be extraordinary, given the dual challenge of the pandemic, as well as the fact that you had a brilliant lead minister for 22 years. Having sort of a garden variety membership loss, even with all that, would actually be amazing. In any case, a more accurate membership number will help us make financial projections and then together dive into that question of long-term staffing. Second observation is that this church was structured in a way that made the lead minister the central processing unit, the CPU of this congregation, as one of our regional staff members put it. So everything, large and small, went through the lead minister. This is not sustainable for most ministers, me included. So the board has made structural changes this year that include having a leadership team made up of the 3 ministers and the director of operations, and this has spread the work around. Can I say hallelujah? So when I realized the extent of the concentration on the lead minister when I came last summer, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to get through 2 years here. So now I feel like I can sustain my work here through the 2 years, and that I'll be able to tell ministers interested in this position that I don't think it's going to cause them to burn out or kill them. And that's really good. Third, I love the diversity of beliefs in this congregation and how seriously you take the individual spiritual journey working together to grow and learn. So this is so beautifully illustrated in your long, like 30, 40-year tradition of this I believe statements. And it's illustrated after every service, except today, when we have the social hour, which invites people to share sparklets from the service, to go deeper spiritually. So this gives your ministers more freedom of the pulpit than I have felt anywhere, and more permission to really dive into spiritual issues. And that's great, and that's going to be a huge selling point for this position. Fourth, I continue to experience here a tension in the congregation between social justice and this internal spiritual exploration. So the mission of the congregation, together, we grow our souls and serve the world in love. Well, that kind of says you need to do both. The question is how much of which, each one. And my guess is there are 700 different answers to that question here. I appreciate that diversity. It's a healthy tension. And I invite you, wherever you are in that spectrum, to honor that diversity. Related to this, I feel like this congregation struggles with anti-racism work, like just about every Unitarian Universalist congregation. And I continue to believe we need to lean into this work, partly because it is so hard for this historically white denomination with its long history of white supremacy culture. For me, the focal point of this work should not be attracting significant numbers of non-whites to White Bear UU Church. Before that goes anywhere, we who are white need to keep doing the internal work so that when non-whites are here, we don't commit microaggressions. We need to find ways also to humbly support and work on anti-racism efforts in the wider community that are led by non-whites. And I'll say that first thing, doing that internal work, I think we need more of you to do that. I really do, and there'll be some good opportunities next year. Fifth, I sense continued anxiety about the ministerial transition. The establishment of a search committee may sharpen that anxiety a bit for some of you. This is perfectly normal. It's perfectly understandable. It is an anxious time, and I'm guessing that these anxieties are further sharpened by two recent developments. The first, for some of you. The first one is there's this much acclaimed novel called Search, which is about a search process in a large UU congregation. What are the odds of that? And I actually thought the novel was a pretty good read, but its only value here is as a cautionary tale. The UU congregation in the book did virtually everything wrong. They cut every corner they could. They ignored every best practice. In short, they royally screwed things up, and the result was not surprising. They also, in the novel, have destructive help from the UU Association. So please hear from me. White Bear UU Church is not cutting corners. We are following best practices, and my job is to help keep it that way. And I have enormous respect for the quality of denominational support we'll have in this enterprise. Remember, this book is a novel. Some of this is made up. If you're feeling at all anxious about the search here, please do not read this book. And the other thing that may be exacerbating tensions here for some of you is the recent unfortunate experience at our neighbor Unity Church Unitarian in St. Paul. Some of you know that they had a candidate who was not approved by the congregation. Whatever happened there, this is way more complex than any of us, me included, can understand. I will say that there is one thing different that I find significant that might have helped, and that is that Unity chose not to follow the recommended best practice of having a 2-year interim, instead had a 1-year. I'm a little biased, but I actually think interim ministry is really important, and it feels like there's a lot of work to do in interim ministry, and it's hard to do it in 1 year. I share this with you simply so you know that there already is a major difference in the transition between Unity and what's underway here. Beyond that, I think what our kinfolk at Unity will be best served by is our steadfast love and support. They are in a difficult moment. All congregations, sooner or later, have difficult moments. And they will not be best served by gossip or ill-informed speculation about what went wrong. And White Bear UU will not be well served by people here becoming overly anxious because of what happened there. Sixth thing, I have been so struck by the gracious spirit with which you have welcomed my ministry. I feared that because you had such an extraordinary minister in Victoria, that you would find me lacking. I am clearly no Victoria, and nobody else is. But now I understand that you greeted Victoria with the same spirit when another really good minister, Reverend Gail Seavey, left this congregation. That kind of graciousness toward lead ministers is in your DNA. And it's a spiritual practice here. And I tell you, that is a beautiful thing. And believe me, I will be sharing that with colleagues, and there may not be anything more important that they want to know, because every one of them will know they're not Victoria Safford. And seventh, as I've said several times, this congregation is incredibly resilient, way more than I expected. Resilience is a constant thread through your history, and this resilience is also a really beautiful thing. So, friends, I know that this staff transition, especially in tandem with the pandemic, has not been easy. So what I want to say is you are all doing really good work navigating this challenging time. You are in good shape. You're completely on course. The next big thing for you will be to help the search committee do its important work. And there are 3 ways you can do that. We'll keep coming back to these. The first way is to engage in the process. You'll have a lot of opportunities in the fall, especially, to help the search committee understand what is most important to you in the lead minister position as you look ahead to this next chapter here. The second way you can help is to support the search committee. They're going to be working incredibly hard on your behalf, and they will be grateful for your support. And the third way is to trust them. Trust them. Engage, support, trust. This is what all of us who are part of a vibrant spiritual community, that's what all of us need to do. Engage in the life of the church, support one another, and trust in the leaders and the wisdom within the congregation. So the sermon today has been more about the church than our spiritual journeys or justice work. But this church is such a crucial part of all of our spiritual journeys and all of our justice work. And it helps us find people with whom to do the justice work. So it is worthy of occasional focus. Together, we grow our souls and serve the world in love. Let's keep doing that good, important, sacred work together. May it be so. Our closing hymn today is one of my favorites, and it has a very limited use during the year. It is called The Sweet June Days, beautiful Vaughan Williams tune. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit wherever you are sing together hymn number 65 in the larger gray hymnal.
They said, quick, run up here so no one sits down. If you could stand and please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and the love of truth forever guide us. Thank you.